Gentlemen, welcome back. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt a woman getting closer and then suddenly pulling away, right when things started to feel real? Not disappearing, not ghosting, not clearly losing interest, but shifting, slowing down, cooling off just enough to make you question everything. That moment will test your emotional discipline more than outright rejection ever could, because rejection is clear. Distance with lingering warmth is not. The energy changes, but it doesn't die. The chemistry softens, but it doesn't disappear. She's still there, just not fully leaning in, and that gray area is where most men unravel. The insecure mind jumps to conclusions. She's bored. She met someone else. I'm about to lose her. And in that spiral, men start chasing, over-texting, over-explaining, trying to force clarity where patience is required. But here's what most men never learn. Sometimes distance isn't a sign that feelings are fading. Sometimes it's a sign they're getting stronger. Attraction is easy when it's light, when it's playful, when nobody has anything to lose. But the moment emotions deepen, the stakes rise. And when the stakes rise, vulnerability enters the picture. Vulnerability introduces risk. Risk activates fear. And fear doesn't always show up as drama. Sometimes it shows up as space. Today, we're breaking down 6 hidden signs she's deeply invested, but pulling away because the emotions feel intense. If you understand this, you won't misread the moment. You won't sabotage the connection. You won't react from ego. You'll respond from strength. And the man who responds from strength during uncertainty is the man she feels safest choosing. Let's begin with the first and most misunderstood pattern. Emotional inconsistency that reflects internal conflict. When a woman is indifferent, her energy declines in a straight line. There are no dramatic shifts, no returning warmth, no emotional oscillation. The connection simply fades. But when she is invested and afraid, you'll notice a rhythm instead of a decline. One day she is open, engaged, warm, fully present. The next day she becomes quieter, slightly distant, less expressive. Then warmth returns again. That fluctuation is not disinterest. It is emotional conflict. The more she feels, the more she becomes aware that she can be hurt. Emotional attachment increases perceived loss. And when the brain detects potential loss, it instinctively tries to reduce exposure. Creating temporary distance is one way the mind regulates intensity. It slows down the emotional acceleration so she can regain psychological control. Most men make the mistake of reacting to the cold day instead of observing the entire pattern. They overmessage, they demand clarity, they seek reassurance. But emotional reactivity amplifies instability. Instability feeds fear. If she senses that her temporary withdrawal destabilizes you, her subconscious registers you as emotionally unsafe. A grounded man does something different. He watches trends, not moments. If warmth consistently returns, he understands she is processing, not detaching. And his composure during those fluctuations becomes the anchor that allows her fear to soften rather than escalate. Now let's move into something even more revealing. Subtle testing of your emotional stability. When attraction is casual, your reactions do not matter much. But when emotional investment deepens, she begins observing you differently. She may slightly pull back after a strong connection. She may challenge your opinions more directly. She may delay responding to see if you become anxious. These behaviors are not childish games. They are subconscious assessments. She is asking herself a critical question. If I let myself care deeply, is this man emotionally stable enough to handle it? Emotional stability becomes more important than chemistry at this stage. If you react with insecurity, pressure, or neediness, you confirm her fear that deeper attachment may lead to chaos. But if you remain centered, measured, and calm, you create psychological safety. Fear shrinks in the presence of stability. What most men fail to recognize is that these moments are not about winning arguments or proving dominance. They are about demonstrating emotional range without emotional instability. When she challenges you, she is not necessarily attacking your authority. Can you disagree without escalating? Can you stay grounded without becoming defensive? Can you hold your position without needing to overpower hers? A man who loses composure under minor tension signals unpredictability. And unpredictability feels dangerous when real emotions are forming. But a man who remains relaxed, even amused, even steady under subtle pressure communicates something far more powerful than intensity ever could. Control over himself. And self-control is the foundation of trust. This is where many men unknowingly sabotage themselves. The moment they sense evaluation, they shift from being natural to performing. They try to impress harder. They try to assert dominance artificially. They try to secure reassurance through control. But forced strength exposes insecurity. Real strength is quiet. It does not rush to defend itself. It does not panic at silence. It does not chase validation. When she sees that her pullback doesn't disturb your rhythm, that you continue your life, your focus, your direction unchanged, her subconscious relaxes because she realizes that if she chooses you, she is choosing stability, not volatility. And stability is what allows a woman to surrender emotionally without fear of emotional chaos. The man who remains steady under mild tension communicates leadership, not dominance, not control, leadership of self. And self-control is what makes emotional investment feel safe rather than risky. Let's take this deeper. Vulnerability followed by withdrawal. When a woman shares something deeply personal, past heartbreak, childhood wounds, insecurities, she is not casually passing time. She is investing emotionally. Vulnerability is one of the clearest indicators of attachment forming. But what often follows vulnerability is subtle retreat. She becomes slightly more reserved. Communication cools temporarily. The energy shifts. This is not contradiction. It is regulation. After emotional exposure, especially if she has been hurt before, the nervous system seeks to regain protection. Being open makes her feel unguarded, and the instinct to rebuild emotional boundaries activates almost immediately after. If you respond by pushing for more intimacy or shifting your behavior dramatically, you increase emotional pressure. But if you remain steady, unchanged, and grounded, you communicate that her vulnerability did not destabilize you. That consistency builds trust. Trust reduces fear. And fear is what caused the temporary retreat in the first place. Now let's examine what happens after intense connection. Pulling back after powerful emotional highs. Sometimes the strongest emotional moments are followed by unexpected space. After a deep date, strong intimacy, or powerful conversation, she becomes slightly distant. Many men interpret this as a loss of attraction. In reality, intense bonding can trigger emotional overwhelm. When connection accelerates quickly, especially for someone who values control, the brain attempts to slow it down. Strong attachment makes the possibility of loss feel real. If she has experienced past heartbreak, intense closeness can activate subconscious defense mechanisms. Distance becomes a form of pacing. An insecure man tries to recreate the high immediately. He increases intensity, he seeks reassurance, he forces closeness. But intensity without emotional safety creates pressure. Pressure reinforces fear. A strong man understands rhythm. He allows connection to expand and contract naturally. And because he is not threatened by temporary space, she feels safer returning. What separates men here is their relationship with uncertainty. After a powerful emotional high, the environment shifts from excitement to vulnerability. In that vulnerable space, her mind is recalibrating, measuring how much she revealed, how much she felt, how much she allowed herself to lean in. If she senses that you now expect more, need more, or are attaching your emotional state to that single intense moment, the pressure compounds. But when you treat the high as natural rather than rare, when you don't memorialize it, chase it, or cling to it, you communicate abundance. You show that connection is something you can create consistently, not something you desperately hope to preserve. That calm detachment stabilizes her nervous system. She no longer feels like the intensity trapped her into something irreversible. Instead, she feels free to step back, breathe, and return willingly. And willingness, not pressure, is what transforms powerful moments into lasting attachment. Now, let's look at a sign that often goes unnoticed: future projection, followed by emotional recalibration. When she casually includes you in future scenarios, trips, plans, shared experiences, it signals psychological integration. You are no longer temporary in her mind, but the moment she recognizes that she is imagining you long-term, vulnerability increases. Future projection makes the connection real. And when something becomes real, the possibility of loss becomes real too. So, after referencing the future, she may subtly downshift emotionally, not because she changed her mind, but because she felt the weight of possibility. Weak men cling to future talk and accelerate emotionally. Strong men remain present. They do not build fantasies prematurely. They stay grounded in the now. Presence creates safety. Safety allows long-term vision to feel stable instead of threatening. What's happening beneath the surface in these moments is a negotiation between desire and self-preservation. When she imagines you in her future, even casually, her mind is testing compatibility, longevity, and emotional security all at once. But imagination forces her to confront responsibility. Responsibility for choosing correctly, for trusting again, for potentially attaching to someone who could one day leave. That weight can feel heavy, especially for a woman who values independence or has rebuilt herself after disappointment. So the subtle emotional downshift that follows is often her way of regaining equilibrium, of reminding herself she is still in control. If you react by grabbing onto the future harder, talking more about us, escalating promises, projecting timelines, you increase that weight. But when you stay rooted in the present, focused, composed, unattached to fantasy, you communicate confidence in the natural unfolding of things. And confidence in timing is powerful. It tells her that the future doesn't need to be forced. It can be chosen freely. Finally, let's address the quietest but most telling sign: creating space without fully disconnecting. When a woman is done, she disconnects cleanly. Effort disappears, curiosity vanishes, warmth fades permanently. But when she is invested and afraid, she creates space while remaining subtly connected. Communication may slow, but it doesn't vanish. She stays aware. She remains responsive, even if less frequently. Distance with continued presence is guarded investment. She is watching how you behave without her constant attention. Do you panic? Do you perform for validation? Or do you remain aligned with your life and purpose? The man who remains centered during absence communicates abundance and emotional control. That control lowers fear. And when fear lowers, closeness becomes easier. Stability is magnetic. Reactivity is repelling. What makes this stage powerful is that silence becomes a mirror. When she steps back but doesn't disappear, the dynamic shifts from interaction to observation. She is no longer responding to what you say. She is responding to who you are without her immediate reinforcement. If your consistency drops, if your confidence cracks, if your energy becomes erratic, she feels it even without constant conversation. But if your life continues with the same momentum, the same discipline, the same direction, her respect deepens quietly. Space reveals emotional architecture. And when she sees that your identity is not dependent on her proximity, she no longer feels the pressure of being your emotional center. That freedom reduces her fear of being consumed or overwhelmed. Instead of feeling responsible for your stability, she feels invited into it. An invitation is far more attractive than dependence. Here's the truth most men fail to understand. Distance is not always disinterest. Sometimes distance is what happens when feelings become real. Emotional investment introduces vulnerability. Vulnerability introduces fear. and fear often creates temporary space. If you misinterpret that space as rejection and react emotionally, you destroy something that was still forming. Your power is not in chasing, it is not in demanding reassurance, it is not in forcing clarity. Your power is in composure. The man who masters his emotional state during uncertainty becomes the safest place for her emotions to settle. And safety is what transforms guarded investment into commitment. When she pulls back from fear, your stability becomes the antidote. And the man who can remain steady under emotional fluctuation is the man she ultimately chooses to trust.